Hi, everyone. Welcome to the KRTP's mid-season update. So rather than sort of writing a report, I wanted to try something different just to get some information out to you all as to what we're up to this year, and you won't have to wait until the end of the year to hear from us. Um, since it's my first sort of mid-season update online, what I wanted to do is just briefly go over what is the KRTP, meet the team, and how the KRTP works. As I meet with people and connect with more people across the province at different times, I notice it's important just to highlight a little bit about how we function. Then I'll talk about the projects we got going this year and some upcoming ideas and events. So let's start with the very, very basics, the Knowledge and Research Transfer Program. That's what the KRTP stands for. And this is just our name here in Manitoba for our Tech Transfer Program. In a lot of other provinces, it might just simply be called the Tech Transfer Program, but that's how we call it here. The term tech transfer can be either kind of seem abstract or seem overly narrow at times. So I just like to start with the definition of technology from a dictionary, which is the application of scientific knowledge for practical purposes, especially in industry. So a little bit more about just what we do as tech transfer. Here in Manitoba, the tech transfer program was established in 2021 with four pillars in mind: communication, applied research, services to beekeepers, and education. And I just like to highlight communication as being important. Um, we can do all the applied research and provide services and create educational materials, but unless we communicate that with the community, it's not having the impact. So we're always trying to improve a communication we can be having with our beekeepers here. Um, for the team, myself, I've been here since April 2023. And then we hired our second full-time um, position in May 2024, and that's our technician, Amanda Turif. Seasonally, this year we do have one more additional seasonal staff, Kezia Bartel, who has been working with us since May. And we were able to hire Kezia with the assistance of the Canada Summer Jobs Program. Laura Weens has been super helpful over the past couple of years, providing casual help in the lab and in the field, especially in 2023 and 2024. In terms of our community, we also have a lot of support from the community here. Um, in the picture, you see myself working with former MBA secretary and lifelong beekeeper Daryl Wright, who's been a lot involved in a lot of research over the years. He just came out to help me on that day. But there's a lot of other community members out there who lend a hand and lend their knowledge and share with us and yeah. So otherwise, we collaborate closely with the University of Manitoba. The Honeybee Lab here, previously run by Dr. Curry, which helped establish the KRTP here, where our office is in the University of Manitoba. So we have access to their lab, which is critical for us. And of course, Manitoba Agriculture, our provincial apiculturist, Derek Mickelson, who we'll frequently talk and share ideas and work together on different projects. So just a bit about who I am and how and when I started with the KRTP and my beekeeping journey. Um, I'm Matthew Polinsky. I originally from near Yorkton, Saskatchewan, third generation beekeeper. So I grew up really in a somewhat similar environment to a lot of this province, especially more to the Dauphin and Russell Roblin area in terms of land use and beekeeping styles, maybe. But um, yeah, I've been consistently working in the apiculture world since 2006, mainly in commercial beekeeping. I took my first sort of job as an adult in 2006 in New Zealand, did a couple seasons there in Australia. I've worked in Canada, in Saskatchewan, and in Quebec. Um, so I've been working on and off in commercial beekeeping really up into the very year that I started here in Manitoba. I started working in research and extension since 2020 as a part-time type of thing, but I'll go through that a little bit more here. And one thing is I like to say about, having learned in this environment and being most familiar with bees in this environment is it's a very interesting and I think educational environment to work bees in. We have a very long, cold winter, harsh winter, and we're trying to get our colonies up on their feet, run, and produce a major honey crop in a very short period of time. And our honey flow here is very intense, so you got to be there to catch it when it comes. So just a little bit about my bee research journey, since now my role is not so much actually actively being a commercial beekeeper, but supporting the commercial industry and supporting the beekeeping world in general. I took my first sort of job that was related to research would have been in 2008 with Saskatraz, just working on bee breeding stuff. Worked there briefly, and later went to university in the mid to late 2010s. Finished there in 2019 and got my first job working in honeybee research as a research assistant through a position at UBC, and that later led to a position with, a consultancy contract with Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. And then I was working in commercial beekeeping full time during those years, 2020 to 2022, those 3 years. And then I started with KRTP here in Manitoba in 2023, and where I am currently giving you this presentation in 2025. So, just a little bit more back to the program, and I'll tell you a little bit about how it functions. Um, we are government and industry funded, especially more industry funded in the beginning before we came into our current funding cycle. The MBA sets priorities, especially via a research committee that's a part of the MBA. That list of research priority goes to the KRTP steering committee. We meet and then they set a list of priorities for the KRTP that then ends up, with myself as the program lead. And I'm trying to do my best to stick to the priorities of our industry decided, uh, you know, by what the government has outlined that we must accomplish within our current funding agreement, but specifically to the MBA's priorities in the KRTP steering committee. So then I collaborate with academia, especially here with the University of Manitoba, with Dr. Curry and now Dr. Morfin, but nationally really, and with industry partners, as you'll hear a little bit about, especially our recent work with Greenlight Biosciences in the U.S. So those are the things that sort of shape us and determine our annual activities and projects. Our main objectives and activities consist of looking for solutions and strategies for controlling Varroa and improving our knowledge there, and just keeping a pulse really on things. So all types of applied research could be not only related to Varroa, but general bee health practices and controlling pests and disease. We provide technical support on management for those who are seeking that or who attend some of our workshops on those topics. And we do provide ongoing support in queen rearing and breeding of bees. Support for beekeepers. We do help beekeepers access any type of diagnostic support they might need and provide consultancy style communication with them. So if they have any concerns, they can always contact myself here at the KRTP, and we can do our best to either come out directly and help you and address your issues, seek answers for you, or just help the process of having diagnostic support a lot easier, so you don't have to figure it all out on your own. We do help put on our own and events along with the MBA. So workshops, webinars, conferences, and attending meetings, especially our regional meetings. A couple of active groups here in the province with the Red River Apiarist Association, the South Central Beekeepers Association, and the Brandon Area Beekeepers Association. Of course, our annual convention and taking part in national conferences when we have the opportunity to do so. And community engagement. Again, it's really important to be engaged with the community and sharing the things that we learn and really learning from beekeepers because you guys are the ones out there in the field, whether on small scale or large scale, and it's so important to constantly be in touch with beekeepers and learning what's happening this season and just learning from a wealth of experience that beekeepers have been accumulating for decades and decades and in generations, really. Um, so the big picture is the KRTP seeks to fill gaps between research and on-the-ground application. We seek to develop and share knowledge and practices that reflect shifting environmental, biologic, and economic conditions, and making beekeepers aware of up-to-date information. We look to facilitate the connections between the beekeeping community and the apicultural research world to advance both science and practice. So I guess for the full picture, the full picture, you could go to the manitobabee.org and visit our website and learn more about the KRTP up there and keep exploring our section of that website. But in terms of just funding tech transfer, the startup years were really benefited greatly from the Manitoba Crop Alliance, Manitoba canola growers, and support from beekeepers. Uh, Manitoba canola growers continues to support us annually, and we continue to get great support from beekeepers. But we're certainly becoming more and more self-sufficient in a lot of ways. And since 2023, we've had a 5-year agreement with the Sustainable Canadian Agricultural Partnership for $1.02 million. So upwards of $200,000 a year. That we run our program with currently. So it's been very helpful for more like deeper establishment of the program. And yeah, we hope that we'll continue a great working relationship with both our provincial and federal partners. So in terms of our 2025 projects, activities and services, just going to give you a quick rundown on a couple of things, just a few highlights, and you'll get more information from us as the year progresses. This past winter, we were able to kind of take that time in which we wouldn't usually be running a field trial and do something. I had been talking with the University of Saskatchewan's Dr. Sarah Wood, and she's embarking on a multi-year project to look at miticides and optimizing miticide use in the winter period. So for this was a bit of a precursor to that study, and we were looking at running oxalic acid glycerol strips in an indoor wintering setting. Now, um, what we did was in 2024, late summer, fall, we started working with a producer. I didn't actually have KRTP colonies, but I said if I can work with producer colonies, we can get something off the ground. So we started working with Veldhouse and kind of monitoring about 4 yards, and then we narrowed it down to 2 yards and about 90 colonies where we found colonies with some detectable kind of consistent mite levels. And what we did was treat them, in this case using thymol products mainly, and then holding those mite levels pretty low. We didn't exactly want to kill all the mites, but we also wanted to kill enough mites that these hot colonies would survive through the winter. So that said, why were we doing that? I mean, we need Varroa mites to be able to test if our miticide is actually working, right? So it's a delicate balance, but we're really grateful to Phil for participating in this study and being able to get it off the ground. So we added oxalic acid glycerol strips using Viroxan. Um, in January of 2025, and we did an 8-week experiment. We had a low dose, a mid dose, and a high dose. We had a sham group, which had the same strip but with no active ingredient, and then we had a group using Apivar. We're still kind of going through all the numbers and looking at that, but yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what came of that. One thing I was surprised, we had working with this operation where there was suspected to be quite a bit of resistance to Amitraz, we actually did have in this case a pretty good response to Apivar. So I was surprised by that, and we are looking closer at sort of a few things. Number one, I can just kind of give you a bit of a highlight to what might be coming. But the high dose, of course, of oxalic did kill mites very well, but it's not clear if it had a very strong negative impact on those colonies. Uh, Less so maybe within the 8 week window of that treatment, but in the 6 weeks that followed that, as they came into spring, there is some initial field observations and initial preliminary data suggesting that those high dose colonies may have been affected somewhat poorly, just simply too high of a dose, or whether that was common across the other treatment groups as well. We don't have the data analyzed yet, so we can't say, but there'll be more on that to come. Something we've continued to do every year is help with breeder evaluations for beekeepers looking to improve their honeybee stock and just their selection process. So the KRTP has always offered hygienic behavior testing via freeze kill brood. And this year we were able to kind of step that up and take it a little bit further. And the reason this happened was that since the previous year, this new product UBO, unhealthy brood odor, it's a spray that goes basically on the same sort of thing as a freeze kill test. You spray a patch of brood and see how the bees react to it. It mimics an unhealthy brood odor that doesn't kill the brood and is not giving off those pheromone signals, but it mimics an unhealthy brood odor that is thought to be associated with varroa sensitive hygiene. And so it's a slightly different test and it's measuring something slightly different and it's quite a bit more sensitive test. But we received a grant, and so we were able to purchase a number of tests and integrate that into our already breeder evaluations that were ongoing with those people who subscribe for free scale brood testing. Now, in addition to that, um, since we added that, and now we have Dr. Morfin here at the University of Manitoba and previously of the British Columbia Technology Transfer Program, we're able to kind of link up with something that she had going on already with the BCTTP, which was also looking at low Varroa growth. So taking a Varroa sample at time point one and then taking a low Varroa growth sample, just a Varroa shake, sample of 300 bees at time point two, and then comparing the growth rate between those two. Just trying to figure out if some colonies perhaps are suppressing the growth of Varroa. Now, if you're interested in that, Alvaro de la Morda recently published a PhD thesis in which he validated this method and looked at it very closely. So anyways, it's a simple way to monitor your colonies to add that extra layer of selection. And so that's something we added on. And we took samples from all of these colonies for the U of M so that they could then work on marker assisted selection. So all this requires us taking a sample of some bees and looking at what they are going to look at is both the high end of the spectrum, very hygienic bees, and the low end of the spectrum, very low hygienic behavior. And then see if there's any specific molecular markers that could be associated with those. So, the long-term goal of marker-assisted selection is that we could test bees without necessarily needing to go through all of the very labor intensive and work and very environmentally sort of sensitive to environmental conditions and hive statuses when you're trying to observe these traits, right? It's trying to observe the bee behaviors. So by actually just looking at the bees through marker assisted selection, you'd be able to quickly identify that if the bees have those traits or not. So that's sort of the end goal. And we were kind of just contributing to that project as we were doing our other work. So that's ongoing right now. Here's just a picture of the unhealthy brood odor, UBO, how we do that in the field, spray a little circle and the different scoring 0 to 39%, whether it's a low score or a medium score, or up to a high score, 60 to 100% uncapping of that brood. And here's just a typical report that the KRTP would send out um, for those people who would like to participate or do participate in the program. Next year, I would like to try to, acquire and try out one of these pin stamps. So pin testing is a really age-old way of killing the brood rather than doing a free-scale liquid nitrogen, but it's been very labor intensive. Just killing every single pupae with a pin and then putting it back in the colony. But a few years ago, there's been this invention of this stamp in Germany where you can just stamp the colony and do hygienic behavior analysis on the spot. You still need to wait a certain number of hours to check back and see if they're cleaning out the pupae, but it's very beekeeper friendly in the sense that you don't need access to liquid nitrogen or to hire someone to bring it out, and you can actually just have that tool with you. There are definitely some, different ways bees react to these different tests, so that's something to keep in mind. But it's something that I would like to maybe integrate in the future. If you want to learn more about that pin test, there's a great webinar on it online, which I've linked via the MBA website in the KRTP section under resources and breeding and queen rearing. And you can find this really excellent webinar that doesn't just talk about the test, but also covers a lot about just, bee behavior and hygienic behavior and trying to get, healthier bees in our colonies via breeding. So another project that we've had going on, this is our third year, is working with Greenlight Biosciences in field trialing their Varroa control product. This is just like the oxalic acid Varoxan strips. This is also not presently registered as a treatment in Canada. So I just want to highlight that. And it appears that this product is very close to the market in the US based on some of the EPA processes and some of the advertising for availability of this product online in the United States as I speak. So it looks like it is very close to the market in the US, but it is not presently a registered treatment in Canada. Now, yeah, this is our third year of trialing this product, and last year we did see some really positive results that you can find on this YouTube channel. That I There is a certain part of the data that is omitted from that presentation just due to an NDA, but you can see the bulk of it there and get a very strong idea of how the treatment worked. Um, I'm not sure if I have too much else to say about this at the moment, other than, yeah, you could check out last year's presentation and that I guess it is in its second year of being trialed in Alberta and its second year of being trialed in Ontario as well. Just a few other notes on 2025 so far. We know that early in the season, we had some reports that some package bees that were imported into Canada were slightly higher with their mite levels. The KRTP also found this in packages that we were surveilling. So just something to keep an eye on and always be aware that, our bees, there's always a risk of bringing Varroa in them, but there's also a risk of bringing in a lot of other things. These bees come from beehives. They're not coming from a sterile environment. There's always viruses and chance of, nosema and anything else coming in. But I think as I did help kind of once we saw high mite levels in a few shipments, I kind of sought out a couple of people who I knew were getting packages and helped them to monitor those packages as they arrived. And we really didn't see that trend continue. So it seems that it's not, I guess, an alarming thing across the board, but it's just something to stay on top of and be aware of and make sure you're treating your colonies appropriately once you get them and monitoring them, once you get them. Um, the Dalan Animal Health or vaccine for AFB has been something that's been talked about a lot. Dalan's been talking recently about potential effects that it may have for suppressing deformed wing virus and sort of the antiviral benefits of treating your colonies with this vaccine. So, I guess down that line, a lot of beekeepers have had a bit of interest raised in this, and they've been talking to me about it. So there's one beekeeper in particular that I've been in talks with, and we're actually hopefully starting a trial on this this coming week. So just in a few days, we're pretty much set to go. Their interest is again really whether they're going to see any antiviral benefits. So the initial role of the KRTP was to connect the beekeeper with the land because I knew that there was a lot of interest here in the province, but specifically with this beekeeper ready to trial the product in a very rigorous manner. So we had been connecting them with Delan, and now it looks like the KRTP might come into a little bit of funding to be able to do an independent analysis on this. So fingers crossed that that comes through, and there'll be more information on that soon. But the idea is that we could do a pretty extensive, um, you know, sampling and assessment of these colonies over about 8 to 10 months. So we can really pin down whether we are seeing any antiviral benefits to this or not. The last thing is, I guess, Varroa collection from beekeepers. Then National Bee Diagnostic Center, Patricia Wolf-Vega is leading a project there. Um, what she's doing is collecting samples of Varroa from across Canada. So Manitoba is allowed to send in samples from, I believe, 50 apiaries. So we're looking for pooled samples of mites. One sample consists of 16 to 20 mites, and that should be drawn from a single apiary, ideally. I mean, send any mites that you have if you can reach that 16 to 20 mites. But as long as you record the history of how you collected them and the treatment histories in those yards, that'd be excellent. The full instructions have been included in the most recent Manitoba Beekeeper newsletter, the summer edition. You can also contact me anytime for the full set of instructions on collection of those mites. But again, we're looking if you can collect mites from ideally one bee yard, 16 to 20 mites, ideally from multiple colonies. And what they're going to do is analyze these mites for genetic mutations associated with resistance to either amitraz or to fluvalinate and flumethrin, right? So to see if any mutations exist in those mites that are causing the resistance. The idea is to get a good idea of the geographical distribution and prevalence of these genetic mutations in our mite populations in Canada. So anything we can do to support that, we will. There's free shipping on those mites to the NBDC, but just please get in touch with me in advance. Just lastly, would like to point out that the Manitoba Honeybee Health Treatment Guide is probably most of you are familiar with, but it's an extremely useful document to just learn anything about um, applying medications or treatments for Varroa in your colony. So specifically with Varroa, I mean, a lot of you are familiar with um, a range of products and a range of applications methods. But for those of you who are not, it's always a good idea to just try something out you haven't used before. And this guide just has very, very clear, concise language about temperature range, time windows, and how to hive equipment and how to set up those treatments. So just want to thank Sustainable Canadian Agricultural Partnership for the support, as well as all of our other partners here in Manitoba. Um, Before I end this, I just want to mention that we did a webinar with AgriGene Solutions. This is a new company based out of New Brunswick that uses swabbing as a diagnostic tool on honeybee colonies. So you can learn more about that. It's posted on our YouTube. It's about a 20-minute video. Just talks about how the service is offered and what you can get out of it as something that basically you just need to swab a number of bottom boards and mail those into them. Um, this year we've been doing these beginner review workshops at BMade. We did one in May and we did one in July. And so for those of you who are newer to beekeeping or might know people who are. That's something that the KRTP has been doing just to kind of review the basics to make sure those people have a little bit of support as they're getting through their first, second, third season with bees, and uh, and giving them a lot of resources and references to where they can engage more and take the University of Manitoba's bee course maybe in the future if they haven't already. And each year we offer an Intro to Queen Rearing course. It tends to sell out each year, and this is offered near Eli, Manitoba, with Jonathan Hofer. We typically have people who I'd say a large portion have just a few hives. Then we have a small number who have, anywhere from 20 to 60 hives that are looking to maybe scale up and become more self-sufficient. And then we always have a couple of commercial beekeepers who just maybe want a refresher or to come out and train some of their staff. So they end up participating in the course as well. And it's really nice to have that different mix of people and different mix of experience and knowledge in the room. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me at krtpmb@gmail.com. Please visit our website, manitobab.org, and find the KRTP there. And follow us on social media, Instagram and Facebook. And if you find these kind of updates useful online, something you can listen to while you're working or whatever it is, just let me know because this is something we could try to adapt and definitely improve as time goes on, and we can put up any type of material you like. But if it's something you're interested in, just let us know, and you'll find our quarterly reports in our Manitoba Beekeeper newsletter. Otherwise, and I guess lastly, we do have now a blog on the new website. So it's been a bit tricky since we've launched the website here in March or April, just to be able to get it up and running and start adding new content now that we're in the midst of the bee season. But um, come the fall and winter, we do want to update that more regularly and work on the KRTP blog. So yeah, please be in touch with us. We like to know what's going on, what's your challenges, what's working for you out there in the field, but also what's positive about the tech team, but also what you think that the tech team could be doing to support you and support the industry more broadly. So thank you very much for your time, and hope to see you soon.